I guess my number one piece of advice for people looking at having an online business is to make sure that you own it, and making sure that you own your domain name. Don't let anyone else buy it on your behalf.
Kia ora team, Richard Liu here at nzentrepreneur.co.nz, and today on Knowledge Base I'm joined by Leah Harold. Leah is the owner of Biz Online. She's an expert in the area of WordPress. Where are you joining us from today, Leah?
We're in Whangarei.
Whangarei, awesome. Okay, so from one end of the country to another. So can we just crack in and can you just tell us a bit about what Biz Online is all about? What do you do?
Sure. So we create tailored online solutions for our clients. We have been specialising in WordPress for about the last 8 of the last 10 years that we've been in business. We specialise in WordPress now, but it used to be a lot broader, and then we decided that WordPress was the place where we wanted to be. Got clients from startups and side hustles right through to quite well established large New Zealand businesses. And as well as building the websites, we actually do a lot of work with people who've already got a website and they need some help editing, changing things out. And we do a lot of training with business owners and admins of websites as well, so that they can self-manage as much as they want to.
Now, if there are people watching who just have not heard of WordPress, I can't imagine there'd be too many, but can you just give us a quick rundown? What exactly is WordPress, and why? You mentioned when you started your business, yep, you worked a lot with other sort of platforms to build websites on, yep, but why have you chosen to specialize, I guess, in WordPress?
So WordPress it's the most popular content management or platform for building websites in the world. It's about 43% at the moment of websites that are built with WordPress. So what that has got benefits going for it, of course, is the amount of resources that are around for people who are using WordPress websites. WordPress itself is open source, which means that unlike some of the other platforms, your Shopify's, your Wix, your Weebly's, where they are self-contained and everything's built by that company and you pay for that service, WordPress is open source. So there's developers all over the world making themes and extensions, which are called plugins for WordPress. So that literally plugs in more functionality to your website. There's thousands of them all over the world, evolving and growing the platform and giving it more flexibility and options. So when we were doing a mix for our clients, if someone wanted a Wix or wanted a Shopify or wanted a Weebly, we'd do that for them. And it got to the point where we felt that recommending either the platforms, we were actually not doing them a service. So that's why we ended up saying, actually, we're going to specialize in WordPress, because that's something that we feel most comfortable recommending to people for the long-term future proofing of the site and also the scalability of things for clients.
So if I'm a person thinking about setting up an online business, and now I've got to choose how to choose a platform to run my website on, if I'm not going to try and build it myself. So what's the basics of process and like costs for getting a WordPress website?
Sure. Okay, so because WordPress, like I said, is open source, it's not proprietary and owned by a particular company, you do need to look into a website hosting if you're going to have a WordPress website. Lots of hosts out there, and you do tend to get what you pay for. So while there are some that might only be a few dollars a month, if you've got a really simple basic website, that might be enough. But if you're running e-commerce and having a lot of traffic through to your site, you are going to need to pay for a bit more of a decent service for your hosting. And it can be literally from a couple of dollars a month right through to some big e-commerce stores are hundreds. Most of our client base tend to fall in the sort of $25 to $50 a month hosting. So just give a bit of a ballpark, I suppose. And other than that, WordPress itself is free. You can start up an online store with WooCommerce, which is the e-commerce plugin for WordPress. There are other ones as well, but WooCommerce is the main big one. That's free as well. But if you want to do anything a little bit outside of the norm, then some of the plugins that you might need to purchase to give that functionality might have some costs around them, and they vary a lot depending on what those developers decide to charge for them.
So basically the founder you can just go to the WordPress website and follow the instructions, right? To get started. Either you can
pretty much. Yeah, so a lot of web hosts, when you're going through the hosting options, will have a WordPress option for their hosting, and most of them will install WordPress for you, and then it's literally getting the login and you can pretty much start building straight away. WordPress has a theme, so there's lots of things. You pick a theme for your website, and that gives the structure of the site. There are a lot of very flexible ones, and there's a lot of very prescriptive ones. So choices, do some research on what you want it to look like and what you want it to do. If you're going to work with a web designer, obviously sorting out a bit of a brief, and then they do all the technical part of it for you, and hopefully then hand you over something that you can use on a day-to-day basis, rather than having to go through the technical learning curve of how to set up a website when you've obviously got more pressing needs from growing your business on your plate.
Do you need an expert, for example? Or maybe a better question is, at what stage or for what type of website might you want to consult with someone like yourself?
Sure. Okay. So with the likes of your self-build, Shopify's, Wix's, Weebly's, those kind of ones, there's lots of other ones, but they are very front-end drag and drop type builders, very visual. WordPress historically hasn't been like that, and it has been a lot less user-friendly in the back end. It's come a long way in the last couple of years, and we're now at a point with the new block builder that they've released, where it is a lot more drag and drop, and there are page builders that you can use if you want to see what you're doing, the likes of Elementor and Divi, where you can drag and drop to the extent that you could with those other guys. So from that perspective, I wouldn't be too concerned about WordPress, from being able to build it and the ease of that. What is more technical is the fact that you do need to sign up with the host, install WordPress, install your thing. So what we do with quite a few people who want to do a DIY is that we actually get that point up to that point for them, and then hand it over if they want to DIY from there. It just takes all that startup out of the way. But like I said, the resources online for WordPress are phenomenal, and there's plenty of YouTube channels and websites and forums and things out there for people who really just want to give it a go themselves.
Can we talk quickly about the e-commerce side? Because lots of people have ideas for selling stuff online, and they'll be considering, well, yeah, what's the best? How do I do this? What's easiest? What are some of the things they should be considering when deciding, let's say, WordPress versus, say, Shopify, for example?
Sure. Okay. So like I said before, so WordPress and WooCommerce are essentially free. And if you're going to go down the route of having a reasonably straightforward store, then when you get to checkout, the only fees that you're going to have are the transaction fees from the likes of Stripe or PayPal. So Stripe is a credit card processing option that anybody can sign up to as a merchant. And their fees are, I think they're about 2.9% at the moment. So that would be your only outgoing cost of that sale, essentially. What WooCommerce has available in terms of shipping and things in the free version would normally cover most people. You can set aside separate, if you need to charge a bit more for the rural delivery, we can do all of that within the free version. So keeping that in mind versus something where you might have quite high fees from a transaction perspective with some of the other builders, that charge a transaction fee rather than just passing on the straight credit card merchant fee, and any other monthly fees that might go along with that. So with WordPress, you'd be hosting and the transaction fee versus whatever you'd be charged for the other solution. So you need to keep that in mind. If you want to have simple products or what we call variable products, so they're the ones where you go in and there's a drop-down box where you might pick colours and sizes and that sort of thing. That's all included in the free options for WooCommerce.
Right, so that's the WooCommerce part of the WordPress environment.
Yes.
For specifically for e-commerce providers.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, look, it's been super insightful. Thank you very much for joining us today. Got any sort of last words or comments for Kiwis out there who maybe, they've got this idea, they need some sort of online presence. It's, very surprising how many businesses in New Zealand still just do not have a website. Yeah. For those who just have some sort of mental block around that, or are potentially setting up something brand new from scratch, any sort of last words of wisdom in terms of what they should be thinking about overall when building their online presence? Their place in the world online.
So if you are considering going online and it is feeling a bit too daunting, have a chat to someone like us and work through what your business plans are and get a bit of a scale of and a plan together about what you're trying to achieve, and being able to see the process of what's going forward. If you're looking at DIY, then take yourself on a learning journey. There's plenty of resources out there to do it. But in the overall thing, I guess my number one piece of advice for people looking at having an online business is to make sure that you own it, and making sure that you own your domain name. Don't let anyone else buy it on your behalf for you, because further down the track, if something happens to that person and you don't actually own your domain name, then I've seen it go bad. Trying to get a hold of that again. So making sure that it's your business asset. Make sure that you are the one that owns it.